We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Tesam and Vezim Meseches Sukkah. This is Sukkah Daf 39b. The Brisa here continues. What do you do if you buy Peiros Shvius from an Amoritz? You take the Kedusha from the money that's now in the hands of the Amoritz, and you put it on fruits of your own fruits that are not Shemitah fruits. Ubava Ochlan beKedusha Shvius. And you go and you eat those fruits as if with the sanctity of Shemitah year, meaning they now have the Kedusha Shvius. As Rashi over here says, Uba Chaver Zev Ochelo Sama Peiros beKedusha Shvius. You take these fruits that now have the Kedusha Shvius and you eat them in that manner. Achilo, Shasiya, Vesicha, you're allowed to use it for eating, for drinking, for anointing, Vahadlokas Haner, for lighting candles. Shehin Hanos, Hamutaros Ben, those are benefits that are mutter when it comes to Peiros Shvius. And the Brisa continues, when is all of this true, that we have this limitation of up to 3 seudos? So belokech min hamufkar. That's when you're talking about when you buy fruit from the Amoritz and it was hefker property, meaning the Amoritz didn't protect it. He treated the field in the proper manner, the way you're supposed to not work a field of the Shemitah year. But let's say you buy from an Amoritz and it was a sada that was guarded by the Amoritz in a way that you would do on normal years, not on Shemitah year. In other words, the Amoritz violated the laws of Shemitah in terms of how he treated his field. So then we're actually even more strict. Afilo bekachatzi iser aser. Then even to buy a half of an iser's worth of fruit from the Amoritz, of that kind of fruit that comes from a field that's meshumer, even that is going to be prohibited. And so the Gemara continues, Meisav Rav Sheshas asks, it says in the Brisa, Umin hamufkar gimel seudos v'sulo. Is it really true that if you have from an area, from a field that's hefker, it's up to 3 seudos and no more? Or in mini, we have a contradiction from the following Brisa. Hapegam v'hayarbuzin v'hashitim v'chalaglugos v'hakuzbar shebaharim. These are various vegetables that grow in the mountains. V'hakarpas shebenaharos. And if you have karpas, another kind like a parsley that grows in the rivers. V'hagargir shalafar. And gargir shalafar also is a kind of vegetation that grows in the farmland. Petzurin min hamaiser, it's pater from maiser. All of these things are basically growing in hefker. They're pater from maiser. V'nikach and mikol adam b'shvius, and you're allowed to purchase them from anybody during the Shemitah year. Lefisha ein kayotze by nishmar, because these are not the kinds of vegetables and fruits that are guarded. They're not generally watched in any way. They usually grow from hefker, and therefore there's an assumption you haven't violated shvius. This was not a field that was guarded. And Rashi over here says, "V'hagarger shel afar." You have the garger that grows in the afar. Uruga hagedela ba'acho. Again, it's growing like in the swamplands, in the areas where it's not protected areas. Avol shalgina, but if it's from the garden, chashuvu, that's already considered chashuv. That's meshumer. That's going to be more of a problem. Rashi says that by all of these vegetables, the basic idea is they grow in a hefker area, and so therefore it's going to be permitted. And the implication of this brisa is you can buy from them as much as you want. So there's no limitation of gimel seudos. So the Gemara says, "Who mosiv lav, who mefarik law." He asked the question and he answered the question as follows: "Bichdei mon shanu." When it says we could buy it, it's bichdei mon. It's meaning enough for sustenance, meaning 3 meals worth. But you really there is a limitation beyond what is needed for sustenance. Likewise, Rava bar bar Chana says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, "Bichdei mon shanu." We're talking about again in the amount that is sustenance. My mashma the high mon lishna de mezone, who the Gemara asks, how do we know that this word mon is a language of sustenance? Like the pasuk says, "Vayiman lohem hamelech v'gomer." This is in Sefer Daniel. It talks about the fact that the king apportioned for them meals for sustenance. So you see the word vayiman is like bechdei mon, the amount that's for sustenance. In any case, the Gemara continues, if so, if the issue over here is that you're not allowed to buy Peiros Shvius from an Amoritz, and that's why it's a problem to buy the Esrog from the Amoritz if it's a Shemitah year Esrog, so Lulav Nami, why isn't it the same exact problem by the Lulav? The Lulav also should be considered Peiros Shvius. So the Gemara says, no, Lulav bar shishas hanichnas l'shviyasu. The Lulav we're talking about, it was cut during the Shemitah year, but it grew during the 6th year. So therefore it's not Shemitah produce. So the Gemara says, if so, Esrog nami bas shishas hanichnesas l'shviyasi. Isn't the Esrog the same thing? Isn't the Esrog a 6th year Esrog that you're picking, that you're harvesting in the 7th year? So the Gemara says, no, the difference is a halachic difference. Esrog basar lekito azlina. When it comes to Esrog, when we want to designate what year this Esrog is from, we go by when it was harvested, when it was picked, and therefore it's considered 7th year. When it comes to the lulav, we go by when it grew. But the Gemara says it's not true. But whether you're following the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel or whether you're following the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, le'inyan shviyas, when it comes to Shemitah year, esrog basar chanat azlinan. By the esrog, we do follow when it blossoms, when it grows. We don't follow picking it. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, esrog shave le'ilon begimel derachim, and esrog is the same as a tree, a fruit from a tree in 3 ways. But la'yerek b'derech echon, it's like a vegetable in 1 way. Shave le'ilon begimel derachim, it's like a tree in 3 ways. La'orla, Revai, V'Leshvius, meaning for all the halachas of Arla, for all the halachas of Revai, meaning the 3rd year, the 4th year, the halachas of fruits, and for Shemitah year, it's like a regular tree. V'Layerek B'derech Echad, it's like a vegetable in one regard. And Rashi over here says, Esrog Basar Lakita Azlina, when it comes to an esrog, we follow when it was harvested. The Chalak Mishari Lanas. The Gemara thinks initially that an esrog is different than other trees. V'Dino Ki Yerek, it's like a yerek, it's like a vegetable. Shalchu Bo Basar Lakita, we follow when it was harvested. Mishum Degadol Kol Mayim, because it grows on the water. Kenamrin Rosh Hashanah, like it says in Rosh Hashanah. Utvua V'ilanos Gedelan Al Mekashamim. When it comes to trees, they grow by rainwater. They don't grow on all water. V'Esrog Gadol Al Kol Mayim Shem Ashkenos Otam Ki Yerek. An esrog grows, but water is constantly feeding it from anywhere, so it's more like a vegetable in that regard. So the Gemara initially thinks that that's why we follow Lakita. So the Gemara says, no, Bein Rebbe Eliezer, Bein Rebbe Gamliel, Defligu Be'esrog Linyan Meiser. There's a machlokus by esrog in terms of Meiser, whether it's treated like an Elon or not. Modul Linyan Shvias, the Basra Chanata as Linan Bey. Everybody agrees that when it comes to the Shemitah year, we follow when it grows, when it blossoms. Li Orla Shanoik Bo Elon. An esrog is like a tree, meaning there are halachas of Orla. First 3 years, the fruit is aser. V'chein Revai Noik, but also there are halachas that have to do with the 4th year. And Rashi continues, V'lashvias does Linan Bey Linyan Shvias Basra Chanata. Again, when it comes to esrog, when it comes to the Shemitah year, you follow the time that it grows, just like you do by a tree. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Amud Aleph.